our last speaker for today, Thom Collier.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm reminded of a story that my mother shared with me that she shared with a high school class back in 1937. If you don't mind, I memorized it in 1990 and recite it today because it's interlude to what I would like to share. I watched them tearing a building down. A group of men in a busy town, with heat and a hoe and a lusty yell, they swung a beam and a side wall fell. So I asked the foreman, are these men skilled like the men you'd hire if you had to build? And he gave a laugh and said, why, no, indeed, common labor is all we need, for we can tear down in a day or two what has taken builders years to do. So I thought to myself as I went my way, which one of these roles have I tried to play? Am I a builder who builds with care, measuring life with a rule and a square? Or am I a destroyer who stalks the town, content with the laborers tearing down? Now, I start with that because one of my opponents has decided that this should be a negative campaign. While he didn't share anything today, he's distributing through mail and personal visits an attack piece against me. And I think I need to take just a few minutes at the beginning to address that. Let me start by saying that I've run against negative campaigners before. I understand how they start. Somebody gets behind the polls, they get nervous, they get anxious, they panic, and they begin a negative campaign. But I have more faith in you as an intelligent voter than to believe you would fall for it. Let me also say I've never sought a position. I have always run with my willingness to serve based on my credentials and my past performance. I've never wanted anything bad enough to tear somebody else down to get it. But I will also tell you this is not my first rodeo. I've been here before. If you're looking for somebody who backs down from a fight, you'll probably want to look another direction. I was raised in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with 11 occupants. I know how to hold my own. When term limits came in 2008, I did not seek another office to run for temporarily while I sought yet another office. I didn't ask for a government appointment or seek a government job. I went back to being in business, which I've been for more than 25 years. It said that a man's actions when he's under pressure is a good determination of his true character. Many, if not all of you, received, like I did, a negative attack piece against me. And now I understand my opponent is distributing it door to door. And for that, you may have seen that I have filed a complaint with the Ohio Elections Commission based on blatantly misleading and untruthful statements. And it's unfortunate that we've had to come to this in the campaign. It's ironic that these issues came up twice in my entire life. Once, you guessed it, 60 days before my first election, and now 30 days before my current election. The first time brought up by an attorney who right now is before the Board of Commissioners and Grievances and the Disciplinary Council of the Supreme Court of Ohio. But yet my opponent felt it was appropriate enough to use against me. In 2000, these issues were fully vetted before the House Republican Caucus, and they found nothing worth its value. But there will always be hungry dumpster divers. Without mentioning the name of the attorney, let me just read for you some quotes from 2000. From the Mount Vernon News in August of 2000, this individual's attack on Collier, which by the way was repeated in my opponent's literature, was filled with innuendo and character assassination. The 3 Republican chairmen of the time of Ashland, Knox, and Huron counties in 2000 released a joint statement, in part stating, despite this individual's half-truths and accusations, Thom Collier's reputation with the small business community and taxpayers is why he was elected by the people. But that didn't discourage my opponent from trying to make hay once again. Their statement went on to say, it disappoints us greatly that this individual has gone to such lengths to distort the truth in Thom's background. This individual's statements seem to be nothing more than sour grapes, from someone seemingly more interested in furthering his own political career than helping the hard-working families of his household. Well, who says lightning doesn't strike twice? Last week, as we appropriately approached April Fool's Day, my opponent recycled these same issues in an attempt to further his political career as attempted to fool you. Somehow, because an old message has a new messenger, it's supposed to be more believable. My current opponent said he received this information from several sources. I can't tell you who those sources were, but I can tell you who those sources were not. It wasn't the county reporter or the Knox County Clerk reports themselves, although their offices are sourced on this literature, because both of them know the truth and have endorsed it. Despite this, my opponent was quoted in 2 local newspapers saying, quote, "The facts laid out in my mail piece are 100% true." I guess we go back to the Clinton days, when it would depend on our definition of 100% truth. I always thought 100% meant whole, as in whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Right, Your Honor? I love truth. In fact, I know truth can set you free. The fact is, the book that I read every day says that if you know the truth will set you free. Let me share where my opponents conveniently distorted the truth in his mailing, which you will no doubt receive if you haven't already. To mention a lien without also mentioning attached lien releases, the death certificate, if you will, is hardly being 100% truthful. It's like trying to celebrate Easter without ever mentioning the resurrection. The fact is, unlike global warming alarmists, I would think that we should be able to trust our true conservative friends to offer the whole truth, not just the portion which is convenient to them. While I would love to address all of the issues in this manner, I'd love to get to the one that I think you will appreciate most. And that says that I imposed a new tax, referring to the commercial activity tax. Now, I know my opponent was busy running for another office at the time, and we were busy studying, having hearings, and working to pass this reform. But certainly he knows, and perhaps forgot, or perhaps he just ran out of space in that little section of 100% truth on his literature, that the commercial activity tax is a reduction in Ohio tax for every Ohioan. It eliminated far more taxes than were imposed. It eliminated the tangible personal property tax. It eliminated the corporate franchise tax. And it reduced every Ohioan's taxes by nearly 21%. The cap was recommended by most pro-business groups, including the NFIB, the Ohio Manufacturers Association, the CPAs, and chamber members across the state. In fact, every tax reform proposal for the last 45 years, you may want to read them, has recommended the elimination of the current structure that we had at that time, and replacing it with a fair, much lower rate, broad-based system. This is the type of reform that manufacturers like Gorman Rupp and PR Machine Works, Timken, Ariel, and others in the area needed to stay competitive, and it is exactly what conservatives in the Ohio House and Senate did. It not only moved Ohio significantly up the ladder on being a more competitive state. A recent publication showed that taxes in Ohio the Ohioans pay $2 billion less in taxes today than we did before these reforms took place. If my opponent sees this and wants to criticize me for that as a bad vote, then I have to assume that he would have gone against the professional pro-business community and joined the Democrats in opposing it. Eventually, you have to stop campaigning on what you're against and tell people what they can expect you will be for. Instead of lobbing bombs at others and telling them what you voted against, I hope you'll answer the question, would you have voted for tax reform? Does being against taxes equate to being against tax reform that reduces the tax burden